Okay, so let's talk about using Photoshop. So what we're going to do is we're going to search for Photoshop in the corner. You should have already installed it. You're going to let it load. And I like to actually go down here and actually right click and pin it to my taskbar so that it stays there and I can always open it. So once you have Photoshop opening, if it's the first time, it might look a little different, but you're just going to go in and open and then find the photo that you want to open. So if you've downloaded your drawings from Teams or something like that, they should be in your downloads folder. But I'm just going to grab my Zentangle and it's going to open up in Photoshop. It'll look something like this. Let me go in and I'm going to reset my workspace. Okay. So what I'm going to do is yours will look something like this. And the first thing I want to talk about is cropping. So the crop tool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tools down. And what you're going to do is just make sure all the numbers are cleared out at the top here. So you're not cropping to any specific size. You can put in like a certain number of inches if you want it to be a certain size. But for ours, it doesn't really matter. So what you're going to do is you're going to crop in your picture by dragging it. And if it's crooked, if you go off to the corner, you'll get a little curved arrow and you can straighten your picture as well. So you just want to crop it in so you don't have any messy edges. Once you get it to size, you're just going to hit check mark, like okay, or I think you can hit enter as well. In Photoshop, there's a couple really important key commands. Control plus on your keyboard zooms in. So you can get into these little spaces. Control minus zooms out. Control 0 gets to full screen. Control Z will undo something. Control S will save something. So mostly for this, we are going to be using either the paintbrush or the paint bucket tool. So you have to be careful. There's a couple different brushes. There's this brush and then there's a history brush. So just make sure that you're on the normal paintbrush. It's actually B on your keyboard as well. You are then also going to look for this paint bucket tool, and that will just drop in colors in different areas. So the paint bucket tool is underneath this gradient tool. So you have to like hold down the gradient tool and you will get to the paint bucket tool. If you're ever looking for a tool, you can always go up here as well and search for something like paint bucket. It should show up. And it will show you like where it is. So we've got that. You should also over here have some colors available to you. So there's all sorts of colors. You can pick through any of these tints and shades of colors. Sometimes though it's really hard to know what kind of colors to use. So here's a trick that I use. I go onto Google and I search for color palettes. So I search for color palettes that I already know will look really nice. So if I look here, I can type, I don't know, fun color palettes, beachy color palettes, color palettes in nature, or color schemes as well. You could use mostly color palette though, works well. So color palettes, nature. Let's do that. So this is just an easy way to do this. So I don't know. I like to look for the photograph ones that already have pictures. It shows you a photograph with the different colors that are sampled from it. And I'll just save it to my desktop and open it in Photoshop and sample colors from it. So this is what I mean. I'm going to right click and save this image if I like all the colors. These you can already tell if you like the way they look together. Now this right now is not letting me save a JPEG. So some of them will if you right click. To get around that, I'll just go into my snipping tool. This is just if it won't let you save as a JPEG or a PNG. I go to my snipping tool, I click new, and I can just quickly grab this part of the picture and I can file and save as and call this colors. That's fine. Okay, and then I want to make sure to save it as either PNG or JPEG. Either is fine. It's saving to my pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Photoshop and I'm just going to go to File. And I'm going to go to Open. And I'm going to go into my pictures and look for my picture, my colors. It's right here. So it's going to open on a new tab. So you can see I've got 2 tabs open now. But watch what I can do. There's something called an eyedropper tool. It's I on your keyboard. You can click and you can sample colors from this color scheme and you can use it in your painting. So if you already know you like these colors and the way they look together, you can use these colors in your painting. I like to go into the swatches and kind of save my own folder. So I'll add a folder, call this, I think I call this nature. And this is here. So I can go in and sample and then I can grab, where did my colors go? I'm gonna open up, sorry, my nature folder. There it is. You can open up all of these folders, have lots and lots of different colors in them, but this one's empty right now. So I'm going to grab this color that I just sampled and I'm going to put it in my nature folder. So let me see if I added that. No. Not letting me grab. Okay, let me sample all these. See how they're putting it at the top here? Let's try it a different way. Okay, I've got all of these here. Let's just, instead of putting it in a folder, let's just go back and see if it stays there. Okay, they're all sampled. They're all just sitting up here. So I can go to each one. I don't know why. It wouldn't let me drag it into a folder, but that's okay. I'm not using these ones, just these first ones. And now I can go and I can choose one of these colors. I can take my paint bucket tool and I can just start filling in areas. Now I can go here, grab a different color, and I just know they're going to look nice because I saw them together already in a color scheme. If I go back here, if I select one of these and I go back from swatches to color, it's going to pull up the whole like gradient of colors here. Sometimes I can just choose a little lighter or a little darker version if I need a little bit of variation. See how it got a little bit darker? So the paint bucket tool really only works if you have enclosed shapes. So you might find areas where it spills over. So if that happens, you might actually have to go in with a paintbrush and clean up some areas. So usually that there is a few areas that I need to clean up when I get started. So if that's the case, I'll choose my paintbrush tool. And at the top, when you choose a brush, you can see it's kind of fuzzy edged. You can change the hardness. So it's a hard edge brush or a soft edge brush. And that's right up here. And what you're going to do is you can change the size as well right here. That's right at the top. I tend to like to use a little bit harder edge brush if I'm drawing lines. So if I needed to fix some of these lines, I would use a harder edge brush because my lines are pretty hard edged. I'm going to go and click off of this. And I like to change my brush size with my bracket. So if you look at the P on your keyboard, right next to it, to the right of it, you have the left and right bracket. The left bracket will make your brush small and the right will make it big. So I can actually go in and like clean up some areas. Of course, I'd want to make it black. And so you could go in and like draw and clean up areas. But like see how the lines are hard edge? You want to make sure that you choose a really hard edge brush, not something fuzzy and soft like that. If there's areas you need to clean up, so if you need to connect areas, like see this area here, I could go in and just connect it, and then my paint bucket tool would work great. If there's areas you need to clean up, you can switch and just go to the white. So see how I went down here? Just use the arrows to switch to black to white. I could also go up here to the white, and I would just use the white kind of like an eraser, and I would erase over areas. So I'm using a very soft edge though. I kind of want to make the edge a little harder. Just go through and erase. So you might need to touch up your picture before you can actually go in with the paint bucket tool. You don't want to use your eraser because it will erase the entire background. So you don't necessarily want to use an eraser. You want to use a white paintbrush to erase and then a black paintbrush to like correct any lines. So once your lines are all closed and you like fix little gaps, let's try this gap. See how it flows out of the shape into the background? It's because there was a gap there. So I can just Control Z, grab my paintbrush, switch back to the black, and I'm going to use the left bracket to make my brush smaller. Just can connect that. Now when I go, it should close it in. So you might just get to little areas where you need to fix things. So Control plus to zoom in, Control plus to zoom out. And you're just going to go in and kind of paint bucket fill in those areas. So some areas that don't have complete lines are just going to fill in all the same color, and that's completely fine. When you're done, you're going to go up and go to File, Save As, save it to your computer, and you're going to save it as either a PNG or a JPEG. I could say Monica, save it with your name, and I could say like painted /Zen for like Zentangle, or painted Mandela, whatever it is. I'll just save it to my desktop for now. Save that. Anytime you save a JPEG, it's going to ask you for the quality. I always choose the best quality, so I always slide that over when I'm done.